Good morning, my fellow weirdos and wildlings and fools and seekers and fellow enchanters of nonsense and mayhem. I don't know. I've been a little extra this week. For example, yesterday I was talking about having to, whether or not, someone had asked whether or not to do a thing. And I'm like, well, I now think that doing the thing is important because otherwise certain types of people get their hopes up. It was a very specific circumstance. I'm not going to explain. People get their hopes up and then, and understandably, and yet unreasonably so. And then you have to be the one who crushes their hopes like a moose eating a dandelion. Like a moose eating a dandelion. I am both proud and perplexed by that analogy. It feels great. Moose eating a dandelion. Also a little wrong, but also really right. And I realize, yes, I am tangenting hard on this one because this is so not where we're going to go. Though I suppose this could relate to Ancestors of Bone because this is going to be part 2, Ancestors of Blood. When I get there, give me just another moment if you don't mind. I did Google it. Moose do eat dandelions, just so you know. But the sad truth is that in the example, I'm the behemoth ruling voice that says, no, thou shalt not, to the, very strong power differential in the situation. And the poor person, oh, I feel for them. Like, they're this shiny little dandelion, and like, I get it, and you're trying, and you're hoping for things. And then along comes the moose and just goes, nope. Sorry. Nothing, and there's no meanness to it. I'm not trying to make somebody feel bad. It was not intentional to set it up such that they would think that the possibility exists. But it happened, and so I got to be the moose eating the dandelion. See? Weird analogy. That is my brain this week. It is going extra. So, if you were around for the last episode, I was talking about our Ancestors of Bone. Essentially coming from an idea, perspective, my abysmal perspective, this one I was gifted by powers that be, that our ancestors can be viewed in a triad of ancestors. Whoa, deities, no. There's different, as with all things, when we apply the very Western practice of let's put it in boxes, label it, separate it, divide it, clarify, there are different ways to slice and dice something that was whole, and when you're trying to label it into pieces, there are different ways to do so. So that is me saying other ways of slicing and dicing the concept of ancestors into particular groupings are not wrong. This is just another different approach. All right. So, Ancestors of Bone, Blood, and Bliss. In the last episode, I talked a lot about Ancestors of Bone. Our ancestors of our old bones, which is our DNA, which the lands from which our far ancestors originated that were shaped by the environments that they grew up in and for generation upon generation. And then we have our current bones, our living bones, which are made from the lands that we live on now. Particularly if we eat a very local diet. If we don't eat a local diet, that is not quite the direct thing that it would otherwise be, but if ideally we are eating something of a local diet, because that's, good and healthy for the land and for us, and more seasonal, which is also healthy, and etc. But we are modern people, and we do tend to avoid things like staying rooted into the seasons in such ways and being limited from what we enjoy by such practicalities as seasonality. I digress. So that's our Ancestors of Bone. Ancestors of Blood, and I gave an alchemical relation to salt for bone. I lean towards sulfur for blood. I do, even though you'd think mercury because of the flowy. Now, again, I struggle, and I don't know why, to be honest. I don't know why I struggle with the salt, sulfur, mercury alchemical trio, but I do. It's not like I haven't read, explored, discussed this with other people who get it. It's one of those blind spots for me, and it's quite annoying, to be honest. Anyhow, I do think that sulfur is the applicable one for blood. Just going to put that out there and then drop it and keep on moving. Our ancestors of blood are very much the ancestors that are our bloodlines. I mean, it's got to be obvious, right? You know, they are bloodlines. We are the direct descendants of, they are your parents by blood, your grandparents by blood, not by marriage, not by choice, but direct blood relations. And if you think about it, what that suggests and or means, I don't know which way to go with that right now. It is early after all. Is that blood is that life force that gets passed along. Blood is not is blood in semen? I feel like semen is just a thing. It doesn't have its own blood, and yet it's the living wiggly thing, and then there's an egg, and the living wiggly thing goes into the egg, which does an egg actually even have blood in it? Because they're so microscopic, like they're what? A cell? And so a cell in a cell. So arguably, blood is not necessarily blood, but it is the living tissue, if you will, and we're using blood as a umbrella term for all of those interactive living tissues that pass along life, because that is what blood is. Ancestors of blood are the ones who pass life along to us. If we did not have blood ancestors, then who gave us life? And then you get, because even you could go into, well, if you were doing artificial insemination, test tube babies, which was this whole thing in the 80s, I think, 70s, 80s, anyway, I grew up in a different era. Let's just put it that way. So if you had artificial insemination where the baby was not, artificial insemination. In a vat. Sorry, a vat's a horrible term, but a test tube. Because if they're grown in a mother, then the blood of the mother, even if it was not, the baby was implanted, the blood of the mother is traveling into the fetus. So realistically, I've not thought this through particularly before, things that you don't bother exploring until you're trying to explain something to somebody else. So if the mother giving birth would be the blood ancestor. If you think about it, the bone ancestry is absolutely the sperm and egg donors, but the blood ancestry, interestingly enough, would come from the mother because of the blood that is actually passed along, umbilical cord, nutrients, blood, all that keeps them alive, helps baby grow. It's just how that whole thing works. So interesting, eh? Huh. That is life being passed on. Blood ancestry is life being passed along. So I do think it is possible, like in this particular surprising example, the bone ancestry for the baby would be the sperm and egg donors, but the blood ancestry would come from the person who gave birth to them. And the passing on of life, that also happens. I'm thinking of, the idea of blood brothers, blood sisters. I mean, it was always done as blood brothers because, I don't know, I guess women just didn't have the cool factor to be able to slice open a palm of their hand because, too delicate, we couldn't possibly hurt ourselves like that. That is a boy thing. The slicing the palm, making the pact and grabbing the hand and essentially sharing blood. And if you have seen the recent movie-ish, I'm pretty sure it was on Netflix. It was a lovely Princess and the Dragon flip of trope. Oh my God, loved it so much. It was kind of a Dragon Slayer thing, and yet very not the typical. If you've seen the movie, you know the reference that I'm talking about, and I don't want to give a spoiler. Okay, I'm going to do a spoiler, so skip ahead by like 30 seconds or such from this moment now. So in the movie, there's a slicing of hands and a sharing of blood, and that crosses over and puts the bloodline of the people who are being hunted by the dragon into the person that they want to sacrifice. They don't want to sacrifice their own children, so they are bringing in other royals and then giving them the blood of the bad people by doing a slice blood pact. There we go. So that's an explicit, like that's an example in a movie where what I am suggesting was very literally brought into a magical situation. So cool. And we also, oh, darn it. Sorry. Traffic driving moment. They happen. When people have that type of blood oath to another, it is about life, right? This is about a pact that goes to the blood is thicker than water. So your blood relations, the ones who give you life, are the ones who matter more than. And interestingly, perhaps the milk ancestors, I took a shamanism course and they talked about milk ancestors, and that would be different from your blood ancestors, but they were the ones who nurtured you, which is going to kind of come up in one direction in the third one, in the Blitz ancestors. But in another way, I wonder if it relates into here as well, because it's that giving of life part of the blood, and milk and blood have a certain relation as well. Fluid ancestors. Okay, so that is my kind of general take on blood ancestry, the passing of life to life. So when you do the that oath and that blood, you are saying, I will give my life for you. We are close. We are that level of close. We share that level of connection, that you are my family, and to the point of we are together, we are bonded above others. Which actually, if we go back to the fluid thing and the exchange of fluids, and then how people connect when they get married, or not married. Screw marriage. Don't need it. Well, not screw it. Whatever. If it works for you, it works for you. But it's not about marriage per se. It's about the connections that happen when we interact sexually. My brain has very much gone down some interesting roads with this that I don't know that I can explore further with you in a coherent fashion. So I'm probably going to wrap it up here. But maybe you will also join me in that contemplation of where does connecting with someone through sexual relations where bodily fluids are exchanged, fluid bonded is what certain communities would describe it as. If you're fluid bonded, is that also a form of blood connection and therefore blood family, blood ancestry? That is a question I will not answer because I don't have one. At least I don't have an opinion as of yet. And realistically, all of this has been but my abysmal perspective. It is but my opinion and information that has been shared for me. It is not something of any other source. If it reflects into anything real, as if this isn't real, if it harkens to anything that exists elsewhere in the world, that is a surprise to me. Cool. Very cool. But to my knowledge, this is a way of looking at ancestry that is novel. All right. With that, I wish you the blessings of the weird and the wild. Have a great time in your life, or at least, hug yourself if you need to. Bless be.